So I don't know how to start this, but it's been a long time. I think this is actually past due. And there goes my good friend, Jen. I call her Jen. I don't know why. I just call her Jen. But Jen, I met you about a few years ago, but I'm not going to get into that story. I want you to introduce yourself and you can actually tell them how we met because I think it's pretty funny. And ever since then, we've been the like sisters, actually. No matter where she goes, we're just always checking up on each other. She's always making sure I'm good. One thing I feel guilty for before we start, I have to tell you.
Go
You
ahead.
never get tired of inviting me to yoga classes and meditation, and I never show up.
Oh, what? No,
Never.
it's not. I don't take
I know
things personally. So that like to a
I never
fault.
know. I never take it. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so terrible. She just never gets tired. She must really love me. She's giving me these free classes that people are dying to take and pay for free, and I'm not showing up. But just know that I love you and I'm getting there. That's why we're gonna have this conversation today, because I want you to tell everyone how important yoga is. And I also want, if you can, see how yoga and meditation can kind of work hands in hand together, because I do believe they do. So before we jump into that whole situation that I just explained, if you would just love to introduce yourself, because you know you more than me, and talk about how we met, and then we'll just pick up from there. It'll just be a conversation.
Yeah, that sounds really great. Before I get started, let's just take a moment to center ourselves. So we'll bring our hands to our thighs with intention. Take an inhalation to send the shoulders up towards the ears, and an exhalation to roll the blades down the back. You can bring the eyes to a soft gaze or bring them to a close completely. Take a moment to find your center. Take a full breath in through your nose. And a big exhale through your mouth. Again, deep inhale through your nose, fill the low belly. Exhale, soften your face, soften your jaw, release, let it go. Last time, big inhale. Exhale, slow release. And we'll gently blink our eyes open. And we'll be welcomed into the space.
Oh, I feel different.
Yeah, right? Good. I'm glad.
I'm calmer now.
And sets the tone. Sets the tone for our talk.
Okay, ooh, that felt good. Guys, try it. Just try it.
Just imagine what 60 minutes in one of my classes will do to you, Mary. Just imagine.
Oh, remember that class I took? That's probably why I never returned, but it was so good.
That was a core conditioning class. That's totally different.
I slept like a baby that night, but I felt good afterwards.
Good. Yeah, your posture, you stand taller, you feel better. You've created some Agni, and you can use that throughout your day. So
refreshing.
Good.
So jump on it. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for the ability to share a little bit about what I know. I'm certainly not an expert, but I'm really happy to share my experiences and what I've learned thus far in my journey about meditation, about yoga, everything in between. And so thank you for letting me be here. My name is Jenni Lydell, and I'm a 500-hour RYT, broadcasting from San Diego, California, in my new digs. I've been here for about 8 months, still feels new. And I guess you can catch me on Instagram, Jenni Yogi, Jenni Yogi. And if you're ever interested in checking out my website, jenniyogi.com. Again, that's JENNI yogi.com. So yeah.
Thank you. That was great. Better than I would have done it. So there you go. If you want more information on her, you can also, reach out to me, and I'll just give you all her information, including her personal phone number. She answers really good. She's better than me in text messages. So we'll just jump onto it. So like I was saying before, I just want you to, educate us a little bit about first yoga and
Mhm.
how it's good for our body, mind, and soul, and how it can actually cure some illness. Not that you don't need to go to the doctor, but just there's just some illness that even while you take medication, you can still do yoga, and it'll just help you along on that journey that you're on to curing whatever you are curing.
Hmm. Okay, before I answer that question, I'm actually kind of curious to hear about your personal experience
Mhm,
with meditation and yoga, what that
mhm,
has been like for
mhm,
you. And
mhm.
I want to talk a little bit about that, and I'll weave what I know based off of what you're saying.
I actually wanted to start out with that, but
Excellent.
I didn't want to make it all about me. So that's why
No,
I
I'm
wanted
glad.
to do
Please,
the other
please.
part.
And grab my
So,
tea.
funny thing is, I hated yoga. Literally,
Hmm.
I hated
Yeah.
yoga, and I saw no point in it. All I when I thought of yoga, all I could imagine was someone sitting on a mat and really just stretching, right? So
Hmm.
I never really understood the importance of yoga
Hmm.
until I believe 2017
Hmm.
when when I just got up and went to Hawaii. It was not planned, and I went to Hawaii, and I was there for about close to a month.
Hmm.
I didn't plan anything out. I just went, and I
Hmm.
first went to a retreat, and during the week of the retreat, I was introduced to yoga and meditation. Even till then, I didn't want to do it, because I didn't know the importance of it. I guess I didn't do my research, and it wasn't really explained to me. So after the end, towards the end of the week that I was in on that retreat, I forgot this wonderful lady's name, but she actually forced me. I came downstairs, and she had a mat laid out, and she, then started to explain to me why it was important that I meditate, at least twice a week, just for the beginner. And to me, again, meditating was in my head. I can't, even right now, I can't describe what I thought of it because it just didn't make any sense to me. To me, it was like just like, okay, I'm gonna go sit on this mat and just, you know, try to clear my head of everything. And she then explained to me that when you're meditating, it doesn't necessarily mean that nothing has to go on in your head.
Yeah.
Something actually has to go on in your head. It's a moment where you reflect, and it's a moment where you let go. It's a moment where just so many things that could just go on while you're just going through this process, while you're sitting on the mat. And that's when everything kind of just started adding up to me, because I was telling her, like, okay, if I sit on the mat, I can't stop but think of so many things. And she said that is what's supposed to be supposed to happen. And so from there, from that journey, 2017, when I came back, home, I never actually continued doing it. I waited out until after like 6 or 7 months. And then I one day, just out of nowhere, I went to the, TJ Maxx, I think. I bought a yoga mat and I took it home. And that's when I started to actually not do yoga, but I started to meditate every morning for about 5 to 10 minutes. And with this meditation, I also changed the way I thought, my thinking process. I had to change my thinking process.
How did
I
it
had
change?
so my negative thoughts, actually, it was a lot of negative self-talk that I was doing, a lot of just, it was never, I never thought of positive things. Even if I did think positively, it was I thought about more negative thing than positive things. But then I started to tell myself, okay, the energy that I am taking or using to think of these negative things, if I use that same energy to try to think about positive things, it'll help me, not just in the process of being able to meditate, but it'll also help me throughout my day. Because when you're in a negative place and you're thinking negatively every second of your day, you cannot do anything. It stops you from just being better at anything that you could be good at. So I had to really just kind of talk to myself every morning and throughout the day and say, you know what? Maybe today was not a good day, or maybe this morning was not a good morning, but moving forward is going to be better. Moving forward is going to get better. So that's how I changed my negative self-talk. And when I woke up in the morning, I actually had this strategy that I did for almost a year. I stood in front of a mirror and I would constantly tell myself, you are great, you can do it, you are better, you are going to attack this. Just positive thoughts were coming out of my mouth every second. The moment I woke up out of the bed, my phone was not the first thing I touched. My, computer was not the first thing I touched. I was thankful that I woke up every day. That wasn't part of my negative, my positive self-talk. I was thankful that I got up every morning. I was thankful for what I had at the moment. And I was also thankful for what I didn't have yet. Right. So that was, I was having gratitude. So this brought me to, this exposed me to the importance of gratitude as well. So it was just when I started one positive thing, it just kept going and going and going and going. And this is what kind of brought me closer to yoga. And I realized, okay, meditation is very important. So when I got the taste of how good meditation was, I just, from that day on till this day, 2022, there's not a week that passes without me meditating at least 4 times a week, no matter how packed my schedule is.
That's incredible. And do you sit for a specific duration of time? Do you do guided meditations? Do you sit in silence? How do you
So
practice?
let's say, for example, if I'm not going anywhere, I'm a early riser, so I get up at 5:30 in the morning most of the time, probably 4 days out of the week. So when I get up at 5 a.m., I use is really quiet. And before I start writing, because I'm a writer, before I start writing, I would meditate for about 20 minutes, sometimes about 15 minutes. It actually depends on how I feel that day. But I can meditate for 5 minutes, but I make sure I meditate, especially before writing, because it kind of brings all my thought into one place and it keeps me grounded. And it kind of takes the distraction away from me a lot of times. And I have noticed that on the days that I do not meditate, it's a little different. And I also wanted to just put out there to the ones that are listening right now, that you can meditate anywhere. You can meditate, at work in front of your desk. You can meditate while you're driving. You can meditate while you're walking. You can meditate anywhere that you are. And I say this because a lot of us think that meditation has to take place while you're sitting on this mat in your house in a very quiet place. It's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. And then it comes down to your body, and then your body, and then your soul. So that's how I meditate. Sometimes I'm meditating while I'm driving. I'm thinking about, so many things, just the positive things that, could just happen the next day, or that could happen to where I'm going. So meditation can take a place even in the shower. I meditate a lot in the shower, when I'm cooking. So I just wanted to put out there that meditation can happen anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad to hear you say that. And I think before, we go on, like you have some, I'm so glad you're a seasoned meditator, because I feel like now we can really chat about this.
Yes.
Because I'm in agreement with you. And I think to a lot of, like, the Western mind is that meditation is something that you do. And when in actuality, like, yes, like maybe that's how you get started with it, but you can be meditative. Like, meditation is a quality that you can display, that you can embody. And so, just like you're saying, you don't need to be sitting, like sitting in your meditation position, making sure that you have your posture exactly right, and that you have your candles lit, and your meditation music is going. And I think for a lot of people, that's the gateway to meditation. And yoga is actually, or how we think about yoga today, is the gateway to that type of meditation. But that's part of a separate story that we'll get into in just in just a moment. But yeah, I think being able to understand that you can be meditative and bring your consciousness, your awareness to what you're doing at any given point in time, is an important thing to remember in the back of your mind as you're doing your meditation.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's really great, Miriam.
And I actually wrote something down that I wanted to share
Yeah, please.
with the ones that are watching. And I actually this just came to my mind one day, 5 something in the morning, while I was writing. And I have to read it off my phone because I will make a mistake. I wrote that there is a connection between mind, body, and spirit, and it's undeniable. There's a connection between mind, body, and spirit, and it's undeniable. And I also wrote, if you are dissatisfied with something or tried or tired on an emotional level, it can have an impact on your well-being and on your physical health. So I'm going to repeat that. If you are dissatisfied with something or tired on an emotional level, it can have an impact on your well-being and on your physical health. If you feel a lack of energy or enthusiasm, the source of it could be some subconscious reason that you aren't aware of. And I also wrote, if you are worried or concerned about a certain thing, then it might be due to a disconnection between your mental state and your inner self. And when all of the elements are in balance, you are able to live productively and enjoyably. And I wrote, now it's time to pay attention to your emotions and heal what doesn't feel right at the moment. That's what I wanted to share with you guys. So that was me gathering my thoughts together, and just, because I realized that, like I said before, it's all about our body, mind, and soul. And once we are grounded and that is balanced, I think most of us will be able to live a well productive life, because mentally, if you're not there, not that, when I say you're not there, I'm talking about when you're not mentally grounded, sometimes you're just a little like, it can take you off of a lot of things that you want to do. I just realized that about myself. That's why I believe so much in inner peace, and I believe in so much of just freeing your body, mind, and soul. And to be able to free that, meditation can do us a lot of favor. If you could just take 5 minutes out of your day, just sit in a quiet place. And if you don't have that time, just take 5 minutes, just try to bring everything together in one place and just kind of maybe talk to yourself and say, it will be okay. Take a deep breath in and out, and you will be fine. Those deep breaths, you'll be surprised, can just change so much about you in just within that 1 second.
Yeah, well, what you're doing is you're ultimately putting a pause, you're putting a buffer in between the stimulus and the response. And so that's one of the benefits to the yoga practice, is that the yoga practice, the asana practice, as we know it, is stimulating for your nervous system. So, we're taking these intense postures, we are experiencing these deep sensations, and what happens is your nervous system gets triggered. But then when, hopefully if you have a good teacher and she's reminding you, or whoever that person is, if they are, I'm talking about myself here, if they're reminding you to breathe, to elongate your breath, to become more present with the sensations, not to necessarily run away, not to make it good or bad, but to really embrace the experience, then all of a sudden we realize that those triggers that arise for us, we can tame them with the subtleties of the breath, with the courage and the perseverance to be present with them, and with the stillness of the mind. And so those lessons that you learn on your mat, that's why people always say, well, when I leave yoga, I feel so much better. Yoga helps develop my confidence. Yoga does X, Y, and Z, and like all of it, like a whole list of benefits. Well, that's just one of the practices, one of the teachings that you can learn on your mat is that when you are under duress, when you're under stress and pressure, you actually have more control than you think. Oh, so many times we are just acting out of instinct. We are having a compulsive reaction to something. But just like you said, the um, adding in a singular breath can be that buffer to give you the mental clarity to say, okay, I'm breathing now. And I remembered what I learned in my meditation. I remember what I learned on my mat, and I don't have to go to that response that I would normally jump to that just feels like a knee-jerk reaction, because the probability is that's not even my reaction. That's something that I learned very, very early on. And so then you get to choose. When you place that buffer in there, you choose. That puts you in the seat of power, because previously you were able to take the seat of the observer. And in my opinion, that's another benefit of the yoga practice, is to really embody the seat of the observer, being the one who witnesses instead of just constantly engaging with what's in front of them. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
I have to take that in. Thank you for sharing that. And another question that I have, well, this was the question that I had before. Do you think that yoga and meditation has something to do with each other? Do you think that they're a connection?
Yeah, so I'm so glad that you asked this question. Now, while I'm not proficient in my yoga history in terms of name, dates, etc., meditation is the first form of yoga. So, the word yoga itself means union. It means balance, harmony, joining together. So it comes from yoke, which is to connect and to bind. So this idea of having union, it's union within, as you say, mind, body, soul. You could think about it as body, emotion, intellect, and the spiritual body as well, or the subtle body, sometimes we call it. So the union of those aspects of the self, as well as the union of the more expansive quality. So when you have your meditation practice and you become more of a meditative person, as we said before, maybe you start meditating at the end of your asana practice, and then it turns into you meditating regularly, on a weekly basis. And then you realize that you're able to take those qualities into your life. And what it starts to do is that spiritual aspect of yourself, that subtle body, the energy body, that begins to expand. And so when you're able to expand your subtle body, your energy body, then you realize that your energy body is actually as expansive as you want it to be. So then you can see yourself, you can see the union in the objects around you, you could see it in the people around you, the plants, really everything around you. And it's not just here, right? It's expansive into our galaxies, our universe. So don't want to go like too deep off the rails, but to say that meditation, the first asana is a comfortable seated pose. So it's any posture. Asana means posture. And so the seated meditative pose was the very first yoga practice. And so that was about, I want to say 5 to 6,000 years ago, that we have records of that. And then as history progresses, we move forward into the future. There's different forms, there's different ideologies. We start to see different cultures start to adapt this concept of yoga and how that manifests differently in cultures. And then it actually wasn't until much more recently, I want to say 13 or 1400s, excuse me, that we actually start to see the asana practice take on different shapes. So when I say asana, what I mean is the postures that we know them, the ones that you practiced in Hawaii. So I don't know what type of yoga you practice. It was probably some form of Bikram yoga
Yes,
because
I
they
wouldn't be able to
practice a
tell
lot
you
of
because
that
I was
there.
not interested at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Well, and to be fair, you know, that a lot of those styles can be very rigorous,
mhm,
and it could be very triggering.
mhm.
And so the point of a lot of those practices is to build a lot of what's called agni. It builds heat in your body. So then that way, when you can purify your body, you purify your mind. So it would be quite natural for you to experience this type of like friction and irritation while you're doing it. Even I'm a yoga teacher. I hate practicing because it's so difficult. It's so challenging. But normally I get to like right around like 3/4 to the end of the practice. And then I finally come to a place where like I've made more peace with myself, with my body, with like the class, the teacher, whoever it is that I have found to be like so like irritating. I've made peace with it at that time. And so I think that's also just such a testament to the practice itself. So what I was saying is that, you know, you were probably having a reaction to that inner heat that was building, and that would be perfectly natural. And the one of the benefits to that is that when the time of the practice ends, you're in your, well, sorry, the practice hasn't ended until it's over. But when you're in your shavasana or whatever your final posture is, and you're in a meditative state, that you have exhausted the body enough that you are able to table the body. So you rid yourself of any fidgeting or basically removing the body out of the equation. So then that way the mind can then become more connected. And that's not for everyone, you know. It's everyone has their own unique constitution. They have their own unique needs. Everyone's body is different, and everyone's different qualities, their emotions, their mind. It's not only different for me, for you as an individual, but it also changes on a daily basis, right? So it would be impossible to write a prescription for yoga and say like everyone must do hot yoga or everyone must do yin yoga. It doesn't work like that. And the postures also don't work like that for everyone either. So you're getting a lot of benefit from having a consistent inward experience, very consistent, whereas some people really, really need to take it into their body before they can find that freedom that you have already. So you know, I think that's
Wow.
such a
Um,
powerful
I
experience. Yeah.
left one part out about the whole yoga thing in Hawaii.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I'm just gonna confess now at this point.
Okay.
Because
True confessions. Let's hear
I'm
it.
just gonna confess. So actually, during this yoga practice plus the meditation, we did it both
Mhm,
together. We meditated, then we did yoga.
mhm,
And during this meditation process, I actually cried.
mm,
Right.
mm,
So I'm
mm,
confessing because you slightly touched based on how it can trigger, you know, I guess some emotional part of you or whatever, you know, part of you it can probably trigger. So I did cry. And the reason why I cried is because at the time I was actually going through something.
mm.
And but for a reason, I felt like I was numb from the situation that I was
Mm,
going through. And for some reason, again, I flew all the way to Hawaii and didn't shed a tear.
mhm,
I didn't feel anything.
mhm,
I thought I was okay until I took part in this yoga plus meditation. And I was just like, it was just like cry me a river. Everything
Yeah.
just came out. And I was asking I actually touched my tears, and I was wondering if it was me crying, because I didn't feel, I didn't, usually how when you want to cry,
Mm-hmm.
you'll feel it, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm about to start crying, but that didn't
Mm-hmm.
happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel the river coming. I just started crying. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I wanted to confess that meditation and yoga will help you to release, because my instructor at the time, she said to me, it's okay, you're releasing, she used this word, I don't know what she used, but she said you're releasing something. And she didn't stop me from crying. She said, continue, let it go. And then she was just, her words just made everything, I felt so free afterwards. I was
Mm-hmm.
walking around like with like a thin paper, because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was holding on to something, like it was like 100-pound burden that I was just carrying with me every step I took. And after this class in the morning, it was about what, 20 minutes. I
Mm-hmm.
felt so free, and my mind was just free. My body was free. I even had um at the time, I actually had back pain, and my neck was really stiff
Mm-hmm.
before this whole yoga and meditation class that I took for 20 minutes. Everything was just stiff. I felt like my words, even when you couldn't tell if I spoke, but every word that was coming out of my mouth before that session was just, I was choking on it. But
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, I just felt so free, like a free bird after the
Yeah.
crying. And it was just so refreshing. So when you were just explaining what you were explaining, I said, well, I have to confess now about what that meditation and that yoga did for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I came back, she asked me to continue to practice it. And I did not do that for the
Mm-hmm.
next 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
when I came back home. But then I started to feel again the same anxiety and the back pain and the stiffness in the neck and everything else that was happening to me before I started to feel it again. And then that's when I went to TJ Maxx, bought a yoga mat, and I just sat there for about 20 minutes, 15 minutes. At the time, I didn't really know what to do, but I just wanted to sit there in a quiet place and put some, meditation music on, and or rainfall or anything at the moment, just to close my eyes for a second. And with all the thoughts running into my head, that was okay for me. I needed those thoughts to run into my head, because to me, when they ran through my head, I felt like they were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Afterward, I felt better when that was happening. It wasn't easy. It was very uncomfortable to sit there on a mat and have all the thoughts come to your head, and all the
Mm-hmm.
flashbacks, and all the what if, and all the self-blame, and all the negative thought, and all of the, I've wasted my time, and just so much negative thoughts that was just running to my head, at the moment during the process, was so uncomfortable. But when I
Yeah.
opened my eyes and I walked away from that yoga mat, I felt like I just spoken to someone about my problems or the situation
Yeah.
I was in. So I do believe that meditation is very important. And also, if you can take yoga class or take part in it, even once a week, just try it, and see it for yourself of what it can do for you. It might not be for everyone. Some people are probably better off going to the gym. Some people are better off just jogging. And some people are better off just writing down, you know, about what they're going through. That's journaling. I journal a lot. I love
Mm-hmm.
journaling. But, I do believe that having a peace of mind and being able to sit there and really, let your thoughts just wonder in your head sometimes makes a lot of sense. So I just recommend
Mm-hmm.
people to try it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, firstly, let me say thank you so much for being brave, for sharing that confession, because I know it's not easy to talk about your deep emotions, right? It's not easy to talk about your areas of perhaps
Mhm.
people might be afraid, like it makes them look weak. Oh, I'm crying. I'm weak.
Yeah.
No, no, that's not what this
I
is.
think crying, before we move forward, and
Mm-hmm.
just to touch upon this subject that probably has nothing to do with meditation, but I do believe that just because you cry does not make you a weak person. And just
Mm-mm.
because you scream and ask for help, that does not make you a weak person. And
Mhm.
just because you're going through trials and tribulations, it does not make you through it does not make you a weak person. I feel like those of us who like to share our struggles and our trials and tribulations and talk about us crying like I just did, it's to me that's strength, because it takes a
Yes.
lot of strength to be able to share that with the whole world, and with those who are watching, because you don't know if someone else is going through the same thing, and you
That's
don't
right.
know if someone else might actually be going through it right now watching you talk about this. Yes,
Mhm.
it is very hard to sit in front of everyone and say, listen, I cried about this because I was going through something and this is what happened to me. To me, I take it as a gift that I am brave enough to do that with myself. I used to say I like to make a fool out of myself, but that's just a joke about it. But I'm glad that I'm brave enough to sit in front of people and say, listen, I had a bad day today, or I fell down the stairs, or
Mhm.
I tripped and fell on my face. It's okay. We're human. We go through these
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here discussing this subject, because
Yeah.
there's always a way to, to cure, I guess, to help yourself, become that better person.
Yeah. You're not afraid to be real. I love that
No,
about you.
there's
Yeah.
nothing, there's nothing wrong with it. We could just laugh together about it,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. And that's yeah, that's one of the things that I immediately noticed about you, and we'll tell that story at the end. We'll tell the story at
I
the
think I
end.
know where you're coming from, but I'll wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we gotta wait. That's the grand finale. So okay, so to touch on your experience. So I'm so happy that you are bringing this up and that you had that experience, because this gives us the perfect platform to chat about it. And for some reason, this is not something that's more widely known. Now, it is incredibly common for people to go to a yoga practice and during their final meditation, Shavasana or otherwise, they will cry. They will cry, they will cry, they will cry. And it is almost to a T every time, Miriam, exactly the way that you are describing it. It's not like I'm sad and
Mhm.
I am just like, I'm convulsing. It's like you have tears
Yeah.
that are coming down your face uncontrollably, but you don't, and it's almost puzzling, right? You're like,
Yeah.
why is this happening? I
Yeah.
feel okay, and
Yeah.
yet here I am crying. And so it's kind of like one of the only, it's a phenomenon, and it's like one of
Yeah.
those only the times that you ever have one of those unique types of experiences.
Mhm.
um it happened to me when I very first started practicing. It happened to many people who I've brought with me, and it was their first class or two.
Mhm.
And for me, I can't remember exactly how long it went on for, but it was definitely more than once, probably for like the first month or so of my practice, where I would go to these classes, and then during Shavasana, and it was like a little embarrassing at the time, because I'm like, oh, what, like, no, I
Sometimes.
wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we have the chance to kind of clear the air about
Yeah.
it. It's okay, and it's
It's okay. It's
perfectly,
totally okay to cry. And not just
yes.
with meditation and yoga. I want to also put out there that it is okay to cry, period.
Oh,
If you want
oh,
to cry, it's okay to
absolutely.
cry. Do you want to know how
Yes.
many times I cry in the shower? I'm not the way, I'm
Yeah.
telling,
It's a
listen,
good place to
I'm just
let it out.
sharing. I cry in the shower. Sometimes
Yeah.
I cry when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it's just too much, I cry. It's okay to cry. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you cry, you're releasing whatever is
Yes.
in you that you're holding back.
Right.
A lot. That's why many times when I'm with clients, and it's just like meditation, when they're letting out whatever they're letting out, and then they
Yeah.
just start to cry. I don't tell them don't cry.
Right.
I actually say go ahead, take your time, you
Yeah.
know because crying
Absolutely.
is rejuvenating. It's wonderful. It's beautiful when people cry. You're
It
letting
is.
out negativity, to me.
You are. And the unique thing about the yoga practice is that when you're crying in Shavasana, it's oftentimes it's unsolicited. When you're crying from an emotional experience, that's very clear and directed. You've been holding on to a force inside of you, and you've finally given it a chance to let go. Now with the yoga or with the asana practice, what typically happens is your body is moving in unique ways, and so far that it hasn't probably moved in those ways on a regular basis, symmetrically on both sides, that you typically have in, like, let's say a vinyasa practice or Ashtanga practice, something of that nature, a hatha yoga in general. And so it's said that we store deep emotions inside of our muscles, inside of our ligaments, that it's in the fascia network. So this layer that runs from the crown of our head down to the soles of our feet and interconnects everything, all of the muscles and bones together. That entire network system is being freed up. And so I think this is just such a great, it's a metaphor for, we're talking about harmony, we're talking about balance, we're talking about freedom. And so when you experience freedom in your body, you're purging, right? You're getting rid of those emotions, those things that have been trapped deep down inside of you. And even if, like maybe you're thinking about these emotions while or like these memories while you're practicing, or maybe some things come up, maybe they don't. But the fact is that you are able to really release them. So it's a similar release, but it happens in an unsolicited type of way. So now I have a book that I think is really lovely, and I'd like to just recommend it. And this kind of talks about it more in depth about the magic of the yoga practice. It's called One Simple Thing, A New Look at the Science of Yoga, How It Can Transform Your Life. It's by Eddie Stern. This is a really, really great book. And so, yeah, that's and it's a great, especially if you're interested in yoga and you kind of like, there's just so much to know. You're kind of looking for a place to like dive a little bit deeper into some of these concepts. That's it's a really great tool for that. So,
I like the fact that you touch base on, actually I'm reflecting on what I said, but you also touch base on how sometimes we hold emotions within our core or muscles, or just within different part of our body. I actually have a book here at my library. I can't find it now, or I don't know the title of the book, but when I do find it, I will be more than happy to share it. In this book, the author explains the same thing you just mentioned about how we hold emotions within different parts of our body, depending on what kind of emotion it is. So you remember just a few minutes ago when I mentioned that before I had participated in this yoga and meditation session with my instructor in Hawaii, the back of my neck was very stiff. Like I had back problems. My back was very, very, stiff as well. And even my knees were very stiff. And after this session with her, I felt the muscle on the back of my neck weren't stiff anymore. I can actually feel it when I touched it. And also my knees felt better. My back felt way better. And I was doing okay for the next 4 months till I came back home. And then it started up again. And that's when I started to do my own meditation at home. So, I just wanted to also put out there to those who, do not believe in meditating or yoga, especially meditation. I will vouch for that because I've been meditating for a very long time now. And like I said, I do it at least 4 times a week, max 5. And every time I meditate, I feel better opposed to when I don't meditate. And I know the difference. I can feel the difference in my body, and not just within my body, it's how I actually react to situation throughout the day. Right. And that's why a lot of time when I'm with my own clients and I know that it's getting the heat is getting hot in the room, I always say, take a deep breath, take a deep breath, take a break, let's just have a woosah moment, come back
Yeah.
5 seconds later. Because sometimes we're just so, there's this thing in us and we just want to let it out. That's why also, when I used to go to the gym, I also integrated boxing lessons.
Yeah.
I bought boxing gloves.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why, when I bought these gloves, it's funny because one of my girlfriends was like, "Man, what are you doing with boxing gloves?" I was like, I do boxing in the gym." She just started laughing. But I did explain to her that the reason why I participated in boxing is because, again, I want to release things. Not that I'm
Mm-hmm.
angry at anyone or I want to punch anyone in the face, but it's also a form of meditation, because when you
Mm-hmm.
box, you're releasing whatever tension that you had inside of you from work, from anything, from an argument you had with an old friend 2 seconds ago, from having so many thoughts running into your head.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just believe that, not just meditation. If you're not interested in meditation, I do believe in physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
Doing something with yourself, even if it's twice a week, go jogging, take a
Yes,
seat in the park. I love
absolutely.
nature. I am big on nature. Like, I love the trees and I love the river and I love being in the woods or anything like that. Take a walk in the nature. I feel like sometimes most of us live in, beautiful places and we don't take advantage of this nature. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I live in the middle of the woods, right? Anywhere in the middle of the woods. And before, I never really, took into account the beauty of this place until,
Mm.
again, when I came back from Hawaii. That really changed how I looked at everything,
Mm-hmm.
nature, things around me. Sometimes I go sit in the park, and just look around me, listen to the birds and
Mm-hmm.
listen to the river, the water, anything. So what I'm really saying is that in order to take care of your body, mind, and soul, you have to really physically do something. You have to be out there, sitting on your couch and really watching inspirational videos and motivational videos are not going to do it all for you. It'll
Yeah.
inspire you for a second, but afterwards, she's just gonna go out the door. Try to go
Yeah.
out and take something in, just breathe, get some fresh air.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised of, what fresh air can do for you, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I mean, well, you bring up so many great points. One of them being that, I mean, one of the reasons why hatha yoga, which is, how we know the asana practice to be
Mhm.
today, was designed is because it was in reverence to the importance of the body. And so, you have your body, use it. It's not to be taken lightly. This is your vehicle. Like we revere the intellect, and the mind. I mean, the body almost always takes a back seat for some reason.
Mhm.
And even though we cognitively understand that it's important,
Mhm.
we will stay up late, we'll work long hours, we will eat food that doesn't nourish us, and avoid things like physical exercise.
Yeah.
And so I agree, and that's crucial in having balance in your life. It's crucial in enjoying the harmony of life itself. You can't appreciate life unless you can appreciate it from the inside out.
Yeah.
And I think what you said about let's see, what did I want to touch on? Oh, that you said that you had an experience with like your shoulders
Mhm.
releasing and your neck releasing after that practice. And that's, again, just such an amazing benefit. And it's very common, so universally recognized that the physical asana practice does provide these like not only like short-term releases, but in actuality, when this is so funny, I love Sadhguru. I listen to him a lot. I don't know if you've
Oh
ever like
yeah.
listened to it. Yeah,
Told me
right.
about,
He's so
yeah.
I love him. I listen to him on YouTube all the time. Um, but yeah, there's this aspect of yourself that is always wanting to expand.
Mhm.
And so you take something like your just showing up for a yoga practice, and he always says, like, even if you show up for the wrong reasons, then if you do the right thing,
Yeah.
even if you show up for the wrong reason, you're still going to be okay. It's going to work out. So, a lot of people show up to their mat for totally different reasons. They might show up thinking like, oh, I want to get in shape, or I want to
Yeah.
exercise, I want to be flexible. I was lucky enough that a friend encouraged me to take a class with her. And so, it was by chance for me, but it doesn't really matter
Mhm.
how you discover the practice, but the fact is that you might notice that as you stay consistent
Mhm.
with a asana practice, that it turns into more of a full-fledged yoga practice. And so that will look a little bit different for everyone, but it's not necessarily about the time on the mat. It's about the reflection,
Mhm.
and it's about understanding the self within
Mhm.
and letting that self become more free.
Mhm.
And as it becomes more free, then you're able to invite yoga, or as you say, like meditation, you're able to invite that into other aspects of your life. So you might start to notice just naturally
Mhm.
that without even really thinking about it, you start making more what you might consider to be beneficial choices for your lifestyle. You
Mhm.
might start buying more foods that are nourishing for your body. You might start to create more healthy boundaries for yourself. You might start having a voice, like speak up for yourself, do the things that you love, take positive chances on yourself. Have some confidence, go for a walk, all of these things, they start to culminate, they start to grow together. And it might have started as just like a yoga class as we know it today, but the more you embody the experience, the more expansive that experience really becomes. um, so I just want to point out the importance of, as you're saying, like, yeah, like I noticed that I got some release. Well, it it might feel like that now, but it doesn't end there. And just like you, Miriam, you are making time, you're taking deep breaths before you answer a question, or if you're feeling overwhelmed, and now you're making all types of choices that you probably wouldn't have had the fortitude to
Mhm.
create for yourself had you not gone down that path. And so that's when people talk about yoga practice, and people are like, they think about yogis or like hippy dippy, whatever. But it becomes a lifestyle insofar that you find yourself embodying peace inward, so that you take it outward.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave it there for now, and then
And
we'll
everything you just said makes so much sense. I didn't want to make this video for myself, but the reason why we're here is because I also have my own experience, which I wanted to also share to light up what you're saying, and just clarify that it's very true. Um, there was a time where I understood, that I had to set boundaries, that I had to eat healthy, that I had to work out, that I have to maintain a positive mindset, that I had to make sure that the negative talks do not overpower the positive talk. So I was doing all of that. And in addition to also helping everyone else with their problems and their situation and seeing them move forward. And I'm like, okay, I'm so good at being there for people and helping them move forward, and wiping their tears away. And at the end of the day, I come home and I'm like, what am I doing with myself? Why can't I practice what I preach? you know
Mm,
and I was doing, like I said in my bio that I posted on Instagram of our conference today. I said earlier in my life I was doing all of that, but the one thing I was not doing was meditating. I was not meditating.
mm,
And once I started to meditate,
mm.
everything just started to come together.
Yeah.
But I did, and a lot of time, like you mentioned earlier, we most of us, are walking around and we look so good. We have nice clothes on, we have nice shoes on, we have this great job, and we're very successful depending on what your meaning of success is, but we're successful in our own way and we're just on top of the world. But that's the outer part of us. And those people, most people who are like that, the inside is not at peace.
Mm.
So, like you said before, it starts from inner to outer, not outer to inner. Because when it starts from outer to inner, it's just, again, is the perception that you're giving everyone else. But we have to understand that our mental health is very, very, very important. So in order to be all of that great thing that you are on the outside and live up to it, you have to start from the inside first. And I'm not saying that to meditate, in order to do that you have to meditate, but I am saying that in order to do that you have to take care of yourself from the inside first, whatever that might be to you. If it's running a mile every day, if it's taking a 5-minute walk, if it's, again, meditating, if it's taking a yoga class, if it's calling a friend just to talk about your problems, if it's journaling, which I highly recommend, if it's seeing a psychiatrist, a therapist, or a life coach, whatever it is, you must take care of your inside first before you can take care of the outside,
Well
right?
said.
Because
Well
outside
said.
is materialistic. Whatever any clothes you have, and if it's gone, you can always get back, right? If you have a car, if it's gone, you can get it back. If you have a house, if it's gone, you can get it back. But what's inside, sometimes when it's destroyed, it's hard to get back. And sometimes most people don't have the strength to get it back. So it's very important that you protect your inner peace. It's very important that you, not just that, you watch your diet, because what also goes inside of you can play a lot of part in how you think and how you, take care of yourself, and how you just communicate. We forget that food can also destroy us. A lot of us might be vegans and vegetarians, but there are vegan food that are not healthy. There are vegetarian food that are not healthy. So we have to understand that it's not just about eating healthy, it's also about eating clean. You have to make sure you eat clean. And you have to also make sure that this is not a hobby, it becomes a lifestyle for you, right? Meditation can become a lifestyle for you, because once you get used to it, you cannot walk out that door if you don't sit and take a husa moment, or just think to yourself, it will just do you a big favor with yourself and your family and friends. So, if anyone doesn't get anything from this video today, just know that it's very important to take care of your mental health. You don't necessarily have to meditate if you don't want. And also just know that meditation is not about just sitting on a mat and just clearing your mind. You will have thoughts that would come to your mind. You will think of things, and you will have moments where you ask yourself, what did I just do? But believe me, something happened, right? And you will figure it out along the line.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I want to bring up is that is for anyone who's watching, don't be discouraged. Don't get frustrated with yourself. I mean, of course it'll happen, along the way you'll get tripped up, you'll get confused. I thought I was doing things right, and this thing happened, but it's all part of the journey. So this is like part of the conundrum of the wellness space. We're talking about these like kind of esoteric things that they're very experiential, and for someone who is kind of maybe new to the practice, or maybe feeling like, oh, I can never do this. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't build a lifestyle overnight. You build a lifestyle with commitment. So you build a lifestyle with commitment to yourself. And so as long as you agree, this is, I mean, when I told myself a long time ago was that I was going to commit to being just a little bit better version of myself every single day. So that was my personal commitment. And I invite you to make a commitment to yourself, one that you can stick to, and one that really rings true for you. In my opinion, there is no greater satisfaction or no greater way of displaying self-love and self-care than to live in alignment with your values.
Mhm.
And so while it might be really nice to hear someone saying something or something that someone else is doing, and you might think to yourself, oh, I should do that. Yeah, I should, but I'm not. Your shoulds don't mean anything. You know,
Yeah.
what are you
Mm-mm.
committed to in your life? And then just go in that direction. And when you're living in a conscious and productive and healthy way, something that like is wanting to be expressed from deep inside of you, then naturally what happens is you will elevate. The person you are, your character begins to elevate. And it's just, it happens naturally over
Yeah.
time. And no one is perfect.
Nope.
We are not here to like give a handbook on how to be perfect, because that just doesn't exist.
No.
But if you can be content and deeply, deeply satisfied with
Yeah.
who you are at the core of your being, in my opinion, there's no greater way to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I would.
Actually, I would like to make a correction. It's the fact that there's no greater way to be. And by the way, it's a fact. By the way, I want to touch base on when you were talking about being frustrated when you first start. And I do understand that a lot of times when you watch these videos, many of us speakers, we talk about, you know, what you have to do, but we never really talk about how hard it is to do it. Yes, it is
Mhm.
very hard, like she mentioned before. It doesn't happen overnight. You will go through moments where you'll feel like you're doing nothing. You will go through moments where you'll feel like you're wasting your time. You'll go through moments where you just, nothing would make sense to you. But like she said, make a commitment to yourself, believe in yourself, and believe that this is going to work out. Remember, it all starts from the mind first. You know,
Mhm.
everything starts from the mind. What you tell yourself is what's true. So if you tell
Yeah.
yourself that this is going to work out and it's going to work for me, it will work out and it will work for you. And another confession I want to make, I did not get here overnight neither. It took me almost 15 years to be who I am today, sitting
Mhm.
here talking about meditation and self-love and, you know, positive mindset, you know, positive talk, being who you are, loving yourself,
Mhm.
taking care of your body, mind, and soul. If you would have told me this 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, I would have probably looked at you and say, what are you talking about? Or I probably laughed at you for the most part. But it took me almost 15 plus years to get here. And I'm still on this journey called self-discovery. We all are, right?
Yeah.
We're all on this journey. And this journey, it does not end. So most people think that, you know, I thought that at once that I'm on this journey to find the thing, to find myself. But what we have to understand that is we never finish finding ourselves. We never fully do find ourselves. That's why it's called a journey. You're on this roadmap every single day to become better than you were the last second, not the last minute, but the last second. Every single second, there's something going on in our life. Even the moment that we are sitting here right now having this conversation, something is happening. We might not know what's happening, but something is happening. It is a
Mhm.
time that we cannot get back. So make sure that you know, use every single time that you have in your life to the greatest, you know, extent that you can use it to, because you're not going to get it back. Live it to
Yeah.
the fullest, you know, put it in your head that you're never going to get it back. Be
Yeah.
very, very, very careful with your time, and, you know, put it on yourself. Spend the time on yourself first before you can spend it on anyone else. Because like you said before, this is the body that you're in. You have to
Mhm.
walk around with it. It's like your shadow. You can't run away from it. You have to learn to love it, take care of it, nurture it, you know, appreciate it, and just, you know, do all the positive thing you can do for this body that you have.
Mhm.
So again, it's not an easy journey. It might take you a lifetime to get there, but at least try, take that one step every single day.
Yeah. You know, as you're talking, Miriam, I hear two words that are coming to my mind. One of them is integrity. So,
Yep.
living with integrity, and that comes from within. No one has to tell you
Mhm.
what your values are. It's inherent in the fiber of your being. Sure, like we're shaped in our childhood, etc., but you know what your values are, and living in integrity with that
Mhm.
is of the utmost importance. And then at the same time, having compassion.
Yes.
So compassion is word number 2. So having that deep level of compassion for yourself will then let you become compassionate for the people around you. So let yourself be okay with your journey, whatever it is. You don't need to beat yourself up, or however it is that you recover from,
Yeah.
the trip ups along the way.
Take your
And
time,
yeah,
it's not a race.
exactly. It's
Take your
not a
time.
race.
We
And
all
just
heal differently,
yes.
you
And
know?
like you said, Miriam, like the journey doesn't end, and that I think is such a beautiful way. Like what Sadhguru says, he says we're always expanding,
Yes.
right? Like we are always in a state of expansion.
Mm-hmm.
It's we could see it a lot in greed, right? And he's
Mm-hmm.
like not making greed a bad thing, because when you are greedy in the right direction, it's actually incredibly empowering and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, you think to yourself, today I'm this, tomorrow I'm this, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm this, and then I'm this, and you just grow and you expand, expand, expand. And as you do so, you become more.
Mm-hmm.
So, allowing yourself
Mm-hmm.
to be different every step along the way, I think so much. There's a lot of talk today about ego,
Mm-hmm.
and how we have these identities, and that's part of like the process of yoga is shedding identities. So
Yeah.
there's these like false layers that we're carrying around with us that keep us from discovering the inner self within.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that we can allow ourselves to shed those layers, to let go of what the ego is truly desiring, to understand and have the clear light of knowledge to decipher what is ego and what is the highest self in this situation, and how would that person act, and know and having the awareness that
Mm-hmm.
even when you choose to go with the ego, then that's what you're doing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, okay, like this is my ego, but I'm going to like feed into this right
Yes.
now. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Having compassion. So that's where the compassion comes in.
Yeah.
So I hope this is making sense. Am I like,
It's making it's well, if it's making sense to me, it's gonna make sense
okay?
to everyone else.
Yeah,
It takes me a
we'll
while to
see the
understand things.
comments.
It's just I'm just really listening to you and taking you in, because sometimes I'm in your shoes, the ones have to explain this to other people. And I'm just so glad that now you're taking my seat and explaining that to me and everyone else. And it just feels good, just to hear someone else say it, and,
Mhm.
like I'm going to continue to say it, it's a journey that never ends. So just continue
Yeah,
to discover the best you that you can always discover,
right.
and don't be afraid to take that jump,
Mhm.
because you don't know
Mhm.
what's on the other side,
Yeah,
and sometimes we have to make, extraordinary decisions and, just go for it, believe that it will be all okay at the end of the day, because what's the worst that's going to happen? If you don't try, you would never know. But if you try, you will know. So what do you really have to lose? And if you do try and it doesn't work out, at least you learn something from it. So there's really
yeah,
a win-win situation for you when you think about it, right?
right.
So just try and, just be the best you that you can ever be. We're all on this journey together. And this is why, I love doing stuff like this, because, if one person can watch this, not 5K or 2K or for it to go viral, but if one person can watch this and say, oh my God, thank God I've, just learned this from this video, it means a lot to me. I sleep better at night knowing that I put this out there, put myself out there, and let everyone know that, okay, it's okay to cry, like we mentioned before. It's okay to fall on your face. It's okay not to like meditation. I didn't like it. It's okay not to be a fan of yoga. It's all of that is okay. But just know that, there are ways for you to be the best you that you can be, besides meditation and yoga and everything else. But if you want to try it, it doesn't hurt. Again, just try
Yeah,
it and see what happens. And, you can
yeah.
come back here and let us know what happened, on this journey. Our emails will be there on the bottom of this video. And Jenni's information, I will put that down there too. If you want to reach out to me, you could do that too as well. And before we get off this platform, please let me know what you were going to say about me earlier. I think we both forgot.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'm waiting for this
Wait, there
one.
was something that I was going to share about what you had just said. Something about compassion that was really, really essential.
See, that's why I always say stuff when it comes to mine, because it usually never is never there when I come back to it.
Yeah, right.
So I should
Exactly.
remember when we get off this video now.
I know, I know. We'll do a follow-up video maybe.
Yep. I know you did. I know you did say one thing you know about me is that I always try to make the best situation out of everything or something like
Yeah,
that. Or
yeah,
something about optimism. It was
yeah.
two things that I forgot, but yeah.
That's all right. You know what, Miriam? If it comes, it comes, and I will
Yeah.
interrupt myself. If not, no worries.
Well, I'm kind of
Okay.
glad it probably didn't come because I was like, oh my God, what is she gonna say now?
No, 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 no. It was really good. I was just playing off of what you were saying. It was just in more of the
In the
same,
air.
just in alignment.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm
So
glad to have you here
yeah.
today.
Oh
Thank you
my
so
gosh.
much.
What a pleasure. And
I
like
know.
what a what a pleasure to chat about something that like I that has gifted me the
Mhm.
most deep and profound experiences of my life.
Yeah.
So I don't know what enticed you to reach out to me specifically, but I am grateful for the ability to share what I know to be true for myself and my experience in the practice. And I think that, you know, if I can just leave something to say is that it's such it's such a unique experience for everyone. And so don't let anyone tell you how your experience is supposed to be. It's for you to discover it for
Yeah.
yourself and let it be whatever it's going to be.
Yes.
Um, but to share the story that we had alluded to earlier about how I met Miriam or how we met in the first place. I was doing this is back when I was on the East Coast. I bounced around a little bit. I was in Connecticut, New York City, New Jersey, and when I was in Princeton, I I had a Amazon return that I brought to a Whole Foods, and I was just planning to drop it off, but Miriam was working the counter, and she started asking me how I would remember someone's name, like what kind of question could I ask them, and I was like. This is hilarious. Like, I don't know this girl. And she's just like asking me tips and tricks for like how to not look bad while you're texting. And I was like, this is fantastic. So we had a whole discussion. We ended up chatting for probably about an hour. My
Yes.
partner was grocery shopping the entire time, pretty sure done by the time we had finished our conversation. So whoops. But yeah, we got into the weeds. We talked a little bit about everything. And just like within the first few minutes of meeting her, I was like, this person has a brilliant light about them that I cannot ignore. She's really fun. She's warm. She's inviting. She's so honest. Like, who has a conversation like that with a stranger in a Whole Foods? And that was just something I couldn't ignore. So we exchanged contact information, and then shortly after that, she invited me to a WhatsApp group with
Yes.
some other really powerful and amazing women who I'm grateful to be part of that group. So yeah, and then we've just continued to keep the conversation going, and you know,
Thank
it's just
you.
nice to be able to. I joke with my partner about this frequently, where we say like we're we're in an echo chamber, you know, like where we just say the same things and you could get that snowball effect. It's not a debate. It's like, no, yes, you're
Yeah.
so right. Preach it, you know, and it just feels good. I think that's how you can like
Yes.
bring energy back to your soul, is to like be around other people who can share that like-minded experience and express it fully. And it just gives you all the good feels inside. So it's always a pleasure, you know.
Thank you so much for always saying yes to me. Every time I ask for anything, she always says yes. And I'll cancel on her 1,000 times and she still say yes. So thank you so much. And she's just, you know, I don't want to start talking about you because I might start crying and I will never get off this video, but she's such a warm soul. You know, you are, and you've changed my life in so many ways that you don't know. Especially again, meditation and the yoga course that you invited me to 1,000 times, but I showed up once. And and another lesson that I learned from you years ago when we met at Whole Food is that from now on, when someone texts me, even if I don't save their number in the phone on the contact, I actually write it in the text and I send it to myself somewhere else. So, you know, I will remember their name because that day, you definitely saved me and I had no idea. And this person that texted me, has been texting me for a while and I just did not remember their name. And it was overdue to ask them any tricky question at that point. What is your name? So I was in a hot seat.
There's nothing like shame to really ingrain something in your mind and like change your behavior.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you gotta.
Yeah. And then you were like, well, tell them. You told me to say something. I was like, no. And I didn't even know you. I was like, no, that's not gonna work. And then we were there for another hour trying to figure out what we're gonna tell this person that you have no idea, you know, who the person is, but you definitely saved my life that day. And I learned a lesson. So
it was a
thank
lot
you
of
so
fun.
much for coming on here, and I really appreciate everything. And like I said before, if anyone have any question about Jenni, please feel free to contact me. I will give you her information, and also I'm going to share her information under this video, her email, her website, her Facebook, and her Instagram. They'll all be down there below on this video. And also, if you want to reach out to me, ask her questions. She's really good at texting and answering people. So just, you know, email her, do whatever you want. And if you want to take her classes, by the way, I wanted to tell them that you do give really good classes.
Thank you.
She, you know, have offered me so many free classes. Again, I can't stop saying that. I will start joining it, but she's really good. And I did take, you know, that yoga class and it did help me a lot. I slept like a baby that day. And I felt, you know, there were muscles in my body that I felt that day that I did not feel for a long time. And that meant something to me. So, you know, try yoga. Like I said, try her free classes, contact her if you have any question. And she's great at working with people when it comes to payments and everything else. So thank you guys for watching. And she'll be back, right? Jen, you'll be back?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I'm always back.
Can't get rid of me. So she'll be back. If you have any questions, please email me. I will write it down. And when she comes back and we have another talk, she will definitely answer your questions. I'm sure she'll have the answer to it. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe to get more updates on Miriam's YouTube. And that's all for today. Thank you so much and have a blessed day. Remember, don't ever give up on yourself, okay? And we're on this journey that never ends. So don't ever think that it's the end of it. All right. Love you all. Bye. Bye, Jen. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.